objections will stand as reported. So today we're going to continue getting impact presentations from our ARPA award winners. And the chief has a lineup for us this afternoon that includes some good agencies. So Chief, I'm just going to turn it over to you and let you take it from here.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Rick, do table input? Yes. Okay.
You got something to say about in my head?
Must be a really slow news day.
That's taking, looking over your shoulder, doing two levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Brother got an
Yeah.
eye?
Yeah.
Yeah, give Legal Aid some good press. You're gonna put some out on the news, give them some good fundraising here.
All right, thank you, council. So, as Chairman Henderson mentioned, today we want to continue with overviews of our agencies that received ARPA awards. So we have some presentations today to spotlight some of the projects that were funded. So our first presentation is going to be by Launch Chattanooga. And so we have Hal Bowling and DeJuan Jordan, co-CEOs from Launch, as well as Mark Holland, the director of the Kitchen Incubator, which is funded by Launch. And so they'll be coming up. And so this is just sort of a summary of what we've about Launch and the Kitchen Incubator. Nearly $3 million invested, 10,000 square feet with future access to another 10,000 square feet. They've got an outdoor seating area that they're working on. And so I would like to let one of you come up.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Good afternoon.
Y'all are welcome to sit.
Welcome to the table.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Is that all right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You gonna hold my arm? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Nobody wants to hold that first.
No, you wouldn't. There's things that.
All right, well, thank you for having us. We will jump in here. I'm Hal Bowling. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Launch, and we are with the Kitchen Incubator. It is owned by Launch, and it was started in 2020, and so we basically have a space, as we always have. Our work has been focused on underrepresented entrepreneurs. The Kitchen Incubator has just given us a great opportunity really to focus on one specific industry around food, and so we've been very fortunate to have this space there. It used to be Virginia College. It was their culinary school. They were closed down for a number of years, but we were able to get in there in 2020, and so the first thing that we did was basically work on that space and try to make it something that was suitable for a shared kitchen space. It's the only space like it in our region, and so we're very proud of it. We've invested in terms of operating and the infrastructure and all that we've done, about $3 million since we moved in 2020. And obviously we're a nonprofit, so those funds really all come from our community, from the city, and which we're really grateful, and the ARPA funds helped us a lot, so we want to make sure we talk about that. An outdoor seating area was added this year. It's a very nice space. We'd love for you to come by and see it if you can. That space that we have there serves about 50 early stage food businesses, and so that's just a little background on us and on the space.
So the outdoor seating area, does that mean that you are open to the public?
Well, not exactly. I mean, it's a space that can be used by any of our members for events that they do. So it would be something where it's not open every day for lunch or anything like that at this point. That could be something in the future, but for now, it'll just be used by members for special events.
So instead of catering an event, I guess the group would come to this location?
That's correct.
Okay.
So we have several programs through the KIC, and the first one is our KIC Catalyst program. It is a 16-week training for entrepreneurs, food entrepreneurs. We're able to help them get certified and learn the basics of how to run a business, and then we provide support after that program is over. And then we have our consumer packaged goods, which we call CPG, where we help, we have 5 training pods where they are able to manufacture their products, and we help them to take their products to market. And then we have program events that help them to generate income and revenue. We have pop-ups, we have Food Truck Fridays, which is the first Friday of each month. We have Kick Nights, that's a series between March and August. And then we have our Food Truck Festival and Expo. We just had our second one in September. Very good turnout, even despite the weather.
How do you get your participants for the Catalyst?
For the Catalyst, it's a high demand program, and honestly, it's word of mouth. We do market it on social media and through our marketing materials like email campaigns, but we normally have a waiting list because it is high demand, and we work with smaller groups so that we can give them more attention.
How small are the groups?
Our last class was what, 12?
Yeah, 12 to 15. 15's our cap.
So the demographics that we serve through the KIC, to date, we have 80 members. Our existing clientele is 4.2% is research and development. As an example, Honeyseed and Be Caffeinated worked in our building while they were working on building out their spaces. And so they were able to, build their product menus and work out of there, testing products until their space was available. 6.3% are in our bakery, they're bakers. And then CPG is 20.8%, and then 12.5% are catering companies, and then 56.3% are food truck owners. Through the ARPA funding of $200,000, it allowed us to develop our 16-week Catalyst program that I talked about a little while ago. We've had 38 new food businesses go through that program over the 12-month period. These business
What is CPG?
consumer packaged goods. And then with these businesses, 58% were minority owned, 45% were female owned, and then 100% of the businesses were started successfully and are still in business, and they all report increased revenues, 100%.
So a question about revenue. So 56% are food trucks and 100% of folks have increased revenue from 0 potentially to $1. But what kind of revenue are we talking about for a food truck? What sort of income and or profit are these entrepreneurs?
I'll let Mark answer that.
Yes, I work closely with the entrepreneurs. Our most successful food trucks are in the mid-6 figures. So a lot of them come to us wanting a second income or trying to develop a new business. And so we can successfully, with our programming, you saw the Food Truck Fridays, the Kick Nights that we started this year, and help them develop a revenue stream. And so the majority of them, their goal is to get to 6 figures.
And is that net or gross?
That is going to be their net sales.
Okay. So not.
You're looking for their profit margin?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the profit
After
margins on
expenses, what they're taking home.
their net profit on a food truck is around 45%.
Okay.
And so all of the people that come to you then are licensed businesses? Is that?
We walk them through the process. They come to us, they don't have a business. We walk them through them getting certified. We work closely with the Department of Health, Department of Agriculture, and make sure that we have them on the correct pathway to get licensed. So every one of them are 100% licensed.
When they leave,
Yeah.
but not necessarily when they come?
Not necessarily when they come, because we deal with startups, so a lot of them have an idea on a concept. We take them through the R&D phase.
Okay.
Is the goal to have a standalone business, a brick and mortar building, or is it they going to continue to be just food trucks?
Well, the ideal, a lot of them do come, and years ago, brick and mortar was what everyone knew.
Yeah.
But it's hard to look into the demographic that we serve, the LMI community, and say you need $2 to $3 million to have a standalone brick and mortar. So having a low barrier entry of a food truck where they can walk away with a business for $50,000, they can open up a food truck and own it. That's a low barrier of entry. So that's what we're trying to do, is create new jobs, and that's the easiest way. It's tangible. They can touch it, and that gets them excited. It's hard to get someone excited over a $3 million piece of real estate that it's hard for them to raise that revenue.
That's awesome.
Councilwoman?
Yeah, I'm 100% biased in their favor. They're in my district, they do a good job, but for all of those that were at my kickoff at the airport, they did all the catering. They do elegant stuff. They do, as far as the outdoor space is concerned, we're hoping to grow that to usable for more things, to rent for events, to do those sorts of things. Mark and I are on the board of Midtown Connect, and we're growing that area as a business district. And they have been fabulous in helping us get this kicked off. Everybody doesn't want brick and mortar, and I'm not sure everybody needs brick and mortar. The food truck, you've got to brag about your Christmas parade.
Oh, yeah.
You got to brag about the Midtown Connect Halloween festival. They work very closely with the Family Justice Center as part of the consortium out there. So, I mean, I've been really impressed with what they've done, and
We're on that committee, and
Yeah.
we're about reactivating the area. We just purchased the building in January, so we started doing kick nights to reactivate the Brainerd area. The patio is gonna be open daily. If we can get the funds to make it weather-ready all year round, it will be a place where it can be open daily because we are having residential move into our neighborhood. So if there's a potential for more revenue for people who want a brick and mortar to do a ghost kitchen concept, since there isn't another place like that in Chattanooga. Proof is now, Calliope took over Proof, that was the only other place where a restaurant concept
Yeah,
could come
right.
and start. We can now do that at the kitchen incubator if we finish out the patio.
Where is this located?
it's right near you know where the library is at Eastgate, at the Osborne Office Park? You know where City Hall East Campus is? Family Justice Center?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
All right, that is developing into a whole
Oh, yeah. okay,
campus. All right, down at the end, closest to the freeway, they bought buildings that were owned originally by Jimmy White, and then,
It's Virginia College.
yeah, it was the
Oh,
old
yeah.
Virginia
Okay,
College.
Yes.
okay.
All right.
I remember that.
And so what they're doing is they're kicking off a whole new concept of live, work, and play. I guess for about, how many months now, Jermaine? About 6 or 8 months. We've been doing public-private partnerships to redevelop that whole area, okay? That's something the point is that, yes, they have received money from the city, but God knows they've given back far more because they're an integral, hands-on part of the community.
Yeah, we're throwing family fun events
Yeah.
for the community, and we're funding it 100%
Yeah.
currently right now, trying to reactivate that area. And coming along with Midtown Connect, they've come along, and we've been partners with them, so it's been a very good partnership.
Councilwoman Noel?
Okay, so the business owners, they pay you nothing?
No, they do.
Okay,
Everyone
what do
pays
they-
something. We are 45% below market value rate. For instance, you can come to us, start your business for under $1,000. It gives you the building, you pay your monthly rent. Our lowest monthly rent is $350 for without storage, $450 with storage. You can't go anywhere in Chattanooga and get a commercial kitchen and start your whole business for that kind of funding.
And your max on the building is $450 for rental?
Yeah, $450 with storage, and that is our entry-level position. Our top tier is $750. If you
And they
want-
can come in, are there certain hours or times of the day that they can come in that's allotted to them?
We want people to be successful, so we're 24 hours a day. So if you come to us and you have a business, this is your side hustle until it overtakes your current business. We want to make sure you're successful. That's the reason we have a 24-hour concept. So if you have a full-time job, you can still come and run your business on your own time, especially when it comes to consumer packaged goods and you're trying to get a product into the grocery stores.
Okay, how many of Honey Seeds have you, businesses like Honey Seed that have?
We have done 3 so far, and that has just been word of mouth, where they have come to us while they're building out their concept. No, I take that back. 4 Chattanooga Cookie was one of ours as well.
Okay.
That were coming to us. So we didn't mention those, Chattanooga Cookie and Ramblewood.
Okay, so what was the fourth one? Honey Seed?
Honeyseed, Ramblewood, Chattanooga Cookie, and Be Caffeinated.
Oh, okay, yeah, I did, that's right, the caffeine, you did say that, okay.
Dion, hit the next one. No, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, that's it.
So, just a few things about our accomplishments since we started in 2020. We were able to jump right in at the beginning. This was something we had not done before, but at the time, the building was empty. We were moving towards getting into the space. And then the pandemic hit, and so the first thing that we did was, first thought was, maybe this has to go to the back burner or wait, because, of course, everybody was scrambling at that point. But Footprint Foundation asked if we could get in the building. Urban Story Ventures made that possible, and Footprint Foundation provided some funding for us to basically begin doing prepared meals that could get delivered out to seniors. We kind of got quickly into the scene to see what food was, the food need was like after it had been so exacerbated by the pandemic. And as we did, LaQuisha Ewing was very helpful in helping us get to the places where the greatest need were. Children and seniors seemed to be the focus. We focused on seniors at that point. And so, so since that time, we were able to contract with people that we knew had lost business overnight. The events went away. Mark Holland was one of those, and he had a very successful catering business. And so that's how we got connected with Mark to begin with. But he volunteered with us, and then we contracted with Mark and others like Mark who had lost that business overnight. So since that time, we've delivered 120,000 meals. Community partners have taken the food from us at the kitchen and gotten it to the homes of seniors that are in need, and we've continued to do that less and less over the year since 2020, but even this year did one more round of that. The food businesses, we've served about 80 food businesses since 2021. Really in 2020, it was mostly the meal delivery and trying to get our foot in the door with the space. We were able to purchase the building this year. That came from a longer story for another time probably, but we're very thankful for that because we inherited a lot of equipment that was in the building. We did a good job, and Mark especially did a great job of really repurposing a lot of things in the building. We've recycled more doors and more windows and more pieces of equipment that I can tell you. But we were able to finally purchase it, which secured all of that equipment that was worth a lot more to us than it was on the books. And then the outdoor seating, of course, that happened this year, very, very nice space, and we're excited about that and the way that'll help the entrepreneurs as well. We've graduated 38 from the Kick Catalyst program. That's the one that we mentioned earlier, DeJuan mentioned earlier. And that will just help a new food business to really know how to begin and where to begin with their business. We've supported 20 businesses and taken their products to market, and that's another part of the kitchen. So essentially, it's a food, food caterers, that kind of thing that can use a space. There's a bakery area, and then the consumer packaged goods area is really for individuals that are trying to take a product to market. So those are sort of the core areas. We were able to get some awards this year, which was great. Recognized by an international organization that we're a member of, the International Business Incubation Association. And then also we were a finalist for another one, the Shared Kitchen Industry Champion Award, that we did not get, but we're thankful for the other two that we did get earlier this year.
Councilman Ledford, did you have a question?
Yes, sir, thank you. Attainable entrepreneurship. So 26 years ago, I started my company with a loan from my grandparents. There's no way in the world I would ever have done that in today's world. It just would not have, it would never happen. Signing leases, finding space, equipment, I would need 300,000 just to start off. So I applaud you for the attainable entrepreneurship and creating a path that is, meets modern needs. And applauding. Second part, though, I wanted to ask you was influence on other industry. What's the most or the farthest out industry that you think you have been able to influence, and have any other industries come to check out your model to see if it can be applicable to certain areas outside of food? Because this to me is real, and I applaud you. I really do.
Well, we hope that this is a model that we could potentially replicate in another industry. I mean, we would be able to go a lot deeper with a lot more individual business owners with the space. It's the first time we've ever had space, and so I think that the thought of doing another incubator at some point around another industry, I don't know what it would be, construction or something that could be the right fit, I think can really make a difference, and we're learning that as we go through the space that we have. So yes, definitely. And we have folks from all over the country who are coming to see the space, which has been another interesting thing too. So that's something that I think we didn't expect.
No, we had the USDA fly in today to see our space. We met them at the Shared Kitchen Summit. They've invited me to speak because this kitchen incubator is not allowed in Catoosa County, Walker County, Whitfield County. It's illegal to have a shared kitchen there. So I'm going to speak to the legislation tonight to show them that it can work. So the USDA came in and they invited me to this meeting tonight. So we've been able, even Dalton came to visit us 2 years ago because it was illegal to have a food truck because of puppy mills on the side of the road. So now they're making it legal because we're here in Chattanooga to have it in Whitfield County. And so we're hoping to do the same thing with Catoosa and Walker County, just right across the state line.
Happy with that.
Yeah, I know.
That's fantastic.
You know, you was talking about the construction industry. I think, you know, we just started a construction and career center.
That's right.
As they are trained in the craft, you know, my further vision was to be able to get those individuals to owning their own company. Because as Councilman Ledford said, you know, you have to be bonded, you wind up having to have a bid limit, and you've gotta have capital up front. There's a lot of things up front that you've got to have to get into that business that probably keep a lot of people back. You've gotta go get your license, and those are the types of things. You've gotta have someplace to set up an office, you know, shared office equipment, being able to put out a bid. I mean, all of those things I think would be very beneficial if those two things came together and to help people that are going through the trades now take it to the next step of learning how you become a business owner. Let me get Councilman Hester and then I'll come
Yeah,
back.
go ahead.
Get some free advertising. I tried the food trucks. Pretty good. Yeah.
They have vegetarian food, so Fridays, first Friday, I want them to do every Friday. The food, oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You've hit something, the model, the one, so they do the same thing that the Family Justice Center does. It's a one-stop shop. That one-stop shop model, that's what you just described, okay? The Family Justice Center has done it successfully for 9 years now. They've done it very successfully, so it's taking the model and putting it in the food industry. There's no reason why we can't take the model and put it in the construction industry. I don't know whether the location now has all the space that's
There's a
necessary.
lot of space there.
Well, then it's the model. So I think what we found is, this may be about food, but the one-stop shop model, where everything's there to make you successful, is something that I think we should be really looking at. Because life has changed, things are different, and sending people all over the world to get certifications, that's just ridiculous.
They get discouraged.
Yeah, well, they do, and you've always
Lots of
got some
navigate,
bureaucratic somebody or other who's,
Lots
so,
to navigate.
so I think you've really hit on something, and actually you did when you said, can't we pick this up and put it someplace else? So they could really be teachers of the model, you know what I'm saying? For whatever the industry is. I mean, y'all need to look at that, because gosh, we could brainstorm some things we could take it to, right?
We have another program called Start Spark, and it's our national program. And so we've gone to over 21 communities across the country and helped them to start organizations like ours, entrepreneur support organizations. So we've been doing that for many years, and so it is, you know, a possibility to be able to do that, and it's something we've been discussing on how to help other help other
Our city
communities
is about
replicate it.
empowering people to reach their best person. Why wouldn't you be a referral source for our city to refer, I mean, the Help Campus is right there, to you all and I guess I'd love for you all to be thinking about is, if we were referred to you to come up with a one-stop shop model for widget making, could you do that? And I think you could.
Yeah, with enough research, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we do have a couple more that we need to get through today. I
Everybody
mean,
loves these guys.
we could probably spend the rest of the time here.
I think we've covered even the rest of the slides.
Okay.
We've talked about them.
Good deal.
Yeah,
Good
this is just
deal.
an example of our entrepreneurs, and I think some more pictures you can go through them. It's the pictures of the space, the shared space. We have great facility, our certifications that we offer there. I mean, that is great. When you get a Department of Agriculture license, we take the facility charge away, so you cap at $150 is all you pay to come to our facility. Outside our facility, it's $750 to start your business. So this is some more pictures. That's Chattanooga Cookie there. It's some more of the pods. And you can just, that's our classroom space. We do classroom training. We celebrate all of our entrepreneurs opening up their food truck. That's the very first one. Success stories, Kenyatta Ashford, he won Chopped. Everyone probably knows who he is. Ella Livingston, everyone has to know who Ella is with Coco Asante. She went through our program. Great success stories. Terrence Locke, he's now at UTC, has a permanent location. He went through our program and also a facilitator. Joseph was the first graduate from our Kick Catalyst, so we have him in there as well. Successful food truck. And then Dwan, she went to Flavorful Seasonings, went to New Orleans to Essence Fest. Our first person to be accepted. You know how hard it is to get accepted in Essence Fest? She was the first entrepreneur to be accepted out of the kitchen incubator. That's another success story, and a few of the entrepreneurs there that you may know around the city that have been very successful.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mark, you should have done the whole
Good
thing.
job.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the ARPA funds. We really, really appreciate that, and hope you're happy with the impact that we've had with those in the space.
Thank you.
All right, so next up, we wanted to invite Legal Aid of East Tennessee to give us an update on the Eviction Prevention Initiative. So we have Ben Danford, Director of the Eviction Prevention Initiative for Legal Aid, as well as Emily O'Donnell, Staff Attorney for Legal Aid.
Hi, Emily.
So just as a reminder, the award amount was just over $878,000, which has been dispersed. And Ben, I'll let you take it from here.
Well, I'd first invite any questions if you have them. We appreciate your time here this afternoon. And without a whole lot of further ado, we'll talk about the Eviction Prevention Initiative. Since we started the Eviction Prevention Initiative back in 2020, the process, the program has been ongoing. This is an update on the last year, and that's when Legal Aid kind of took over the management of the program. And so this is an update on this last calendar year. As you can see from the slides up there, we've represented over 583 tenants in their eviction cases. Having an attorney represent a tenant in an eviction case is incredibly impactful. It's very significant for the tenants. It helps the court system. The eviction process is complicated, and most tenants are there for the first time. There's a lot of questions, there's a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot of fear and anxiety. And so we've had a great impact being able to represent tenants and help just the smooth functioning of the court system. In addition to actual representation from attorneys, we've used case managers through Habitat for Humanity here in Chattanooga, and they have been helping tenants outside of just eviction court. So, you know, eviction court kind of moves fast, but those tenants are still left in a position of need, and those case managers have been instrumental in addressing that need. One of the outreach techniques that we've instituted here has been our postcards. So when you are, hopefully nobody here is up for eviction anytime soon, but if you do find yourself on the eviction docket, it's public record, your address is on there. And so what we've managed to do is to cull the addresses from that public documentation and send tenants facing eviction a postcard with our information, with what we can provide for them, and basically an offer, a handout to help those tenants. And that has been really a game changer, because prior to us sending these postcards, all you got was a summons from the General Sessions Court in Hamilton County. Some people are perfectly comfortable getting summoned into court, some people are terrified. And so I think having somebody there to help you is beneficial. And then one of the other things that we do is we do outreach. So we go to community organizations and events, and we talk about landlord-tenant law, we talk about housing in Chattanooga and the surrounding county. And
Oh, I got to go to City Hall East recently and give a training to the Office of Family Empowerment which is a group that I adore. That is a fantastic group of people. And I love the new facility.
This next slide kind of just shows you the organizational scheme. Legal aid is now the umbrella under the city of Chattanooga, so we've implemented the funding that has been provided. We work with Habitat for Humanity, the Chattanooga Regional Homeless Coalition, and the Community Foundation of Greater Chattanooga. All of these partners are instrumental in making the work that we do come off as well as it does. And it is a complicated process, but we really do enjoy and appreciate our partners in this organization, so.
What are flex funds under, in the middle section there?
It's a good question. There's two large pots of rental assistance, and there's another slide that we're going to talk about this later on in the presentation. The first pot of money that we attempt to utilize and to leverage for the community is ERA EPP. That's American Rescue Fund plans. If you remember back in the don't go too far, but the heyday of COVID, there was a lot of that ERA EPP money came through, and that is a great big pot of money. And if a tenant is eligible, we can access that money, and then it goes directly to the landlord. It helps the community. It prevents, the landlord missing mortgage payments. It prevents the tenant becoming homeless. That's a great big pot of federal dollars. There's federal restrictions that go with that. And then the Flex Fund is a much smaller pot of money that's been raised primarily with our partners at the Community Foundation. And this fund is less restricted. There's none of the federal strings that attach to the Flex Fund money. And what that does is that allows the advocates, the case managers to provide assistance for the tenants that wouldn't otherwise be available. So prior to this Flex Fund, a tenant who was in eviction court, who may have been, let's just, for the purpose of the discussion, say they were $2,500 behind in rent, and they could come up with all of the $2,500, right, pay that amount down and get the slate cleared, but there was always the remaining issue of the court costs, and who's going to pay for the process server, and what about the attorney's fees? And so this Flex Fund allows us to address those outstanding, debts or deficits, and kind of help bridge the gap to keeping families housed.
Councilman Burris?
So this was a one-time grant, right? And the program is something that is a very good program. And Jermaine, I guess this question is for you. So Deb House, my friend in Knoxville, called me and said, hey, what is the best route to continue funds? And I suggest, and as we talked about an RFP, except what we were unsure of is an RFP is you apply to a department. And is that housing? Is that, I don't need an answer right now, but I promised Deb I would get back with her so that they can, at least give it a shot. Because budget and RFP stuff is starting now.
Right, so it would fall under the Department of Economic Development.
Richard, okay.
Yeah, under the Housing Division, which is led by Nicole, under Richard, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's, all right, so I'm in the right, all right. So that's, you can tell Deb, or do you want me to call her and, okay. Thank you. Because we're trying to figure out a way to continue this. And it seemed an RFP was the way to do it. I just wasn't sure what department.
Well, so it would be the RFPs that we have done in the 3 to 4 year cycles.
Right. I knew what it was. I just wasn't sure. I've been kind of mentoring her, and that's okay. I really didn't know.
Yes.
Okay, so it's Nicole under Richard. Thank you.
Councilman Ledford?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You can help them.
A few years ago, when I first met Emily, she introduced me to what EPI was. and had the fortune to sit in with a couple of education sessions hosted by Community Foundation. And during those sessions, I'd ask the question, and I try to always ask Megan or Emily when we're in the room together, and that is, the partnership that you take with the landlord by involving the landlord into this process is also beneficial, because it creates that communication link, or it creates that system there that I think makes the program even more effective. If you want to talk a little bit about that, always think it's valuable to mention that link is there.
I think that sometimes when we talk about eviction and we're representing tenants and all of that, it does get lost that when rent is behind, the tenant may lose their housing, but the landlord loses income. This is their investment. We work with a ton of we call them mom and pop landlords. And we've been around so long now that they will refer people directly to us. And now we give a little spiel at the beginning of court, and it really does help make the docket go more smoothly. Sometimes we have 150 cases a day, every Thursday, and we'll say, hey, landlord and tenant, y'all talk together. If you think this is something we can work out, come together, and we will kind of broker a deal that works for everybody, so that, you know, the landlord is made whole, the family gets to stay housed, and it really does help the whole community.
And I would say that I think this Thursday, there's 124 on the docket this Thursday, so it's a constant churn.
And this slide kind of speaks to our need for ongoing support, because we continue to see, and I know y'all are very attuned to the many levels of needs for housing here, but we have recently found that 47% of our county residents are rent burdened, and we had the most cases filed in July of this year than we have since 2016. So the eviction issue continues to grow, and it's a continued need. We thought that this was a pandemic-related event, but there have been all sorts of fallout since, and turnover in properties, and raising rents, and stagnant wages. So it's not going to resolve itself naturally.
And that HUD term, the rent burden, that's 30% of your income goes to housing. That's a huge percentage here in Hamilton County. And many of the tenants that we work with are actually severely rent burdened, which is upwards of 50% of their income towards housing, which just doesn't leave a lot of room for most family budgets at the end of the month.
Do you all know if foreclosures are tracking at a similar clip? Because I wonder how many homeowners are also housing cost burdened.
Well, there's an automatic check that you won't qualify for a mortgage that you can't afford, right?
True,
You go through that through your application process.
unless you're interest rate adjusted.
Right, it can become unaffordable. But this third bullet, with a mortgage, you get a 90-day grace period before they'll begin a foreclosure process. It's a 5-day grace period for tenants. So there's kind of a misconception that it takes forever to get a tenant out. That may be true in some cases or some states, but here, you're late on the 2nd, they can file on the 6th, you get served on the 8th, you can be being set out by the sheriff within 30 days. So it's really, really fast.
That must have changed since.
Yeah, that's not what I thought it was, frankly.
Well,
I thought it was a very lengthy process.
We talk to people all the time who say, you know, well, how can I be evicted? I haven't gotten my 30-day notice, and there is absolutely no requirement for a 30-day notice in most instances under Tennessee law.
It used to take me 90 days to get them out.
That's over.
Yeah, thanks for shedding light on that.
So we have been working to advance the Goal 16, the One Chattanooga program. And I think this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The support that we provide helps both tenants and the housing providers. And I think that's a really good point that shouldn't be missed. The money it doesn't go into the tenants' pockets, it goes into the coffers of the landlords. And again, a lot of these are, you know, large apartment complexes, but many of them are very small businesses owned locally, people that we see in court frequently, almost every week.
Go ahead.
So I serve on the board of Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise, and we work really diligently to keep rental rates as low as possible. And it's been interesting as a board, as we make commitments to renting to people at 80% AMI and below, how our arrears have increased. Because when you have folks that are on a very constricted income, we all know one small thing can really change what the bank account looks like at the end of the month. And so thinking about how you've got folks, you have landlords that are there time and again, they may be trying to do the good work of renting at a lower rate, but they're renting to a population that's at higher risk across the board. So you're just gonna have more need for legal conversations.
Absolutely.
It feeds itself.
And the risk is that if we lose these local mom and pop landlords, the properties will be bought by out-of-towners who will either
Absolutely.
raise it, tear it down and build back new, or jack up the rent. They do not care about this community at all.
Less compassion.
So having, I guess we might call it like natural affordable housing, a lot of the landlords, this is their parents' house that they inherited when they passed, and they very much want to keep it in the family, but if they can't keep tenants in it, they won't be able to.
Yeah.
So the money that we were discussing earlier, the Flex Fund, that's the private donation figure that you see there. It's about $117,000. The total here is just shy of $1.5 million, and that's just money pumped right back into the community here. So it's not floating away to other places, and it really does, I think, benefit both the landlords and the tenants. Obviously, the tenants are incredibly grateful, rightfully so. They remain housed. The tenants are not the only ones that are incredibly grateful. The landlords are often just as happy to get compensated and get back on a good position with those tenants. A lot of landlords, anecdotally, we find they don't really love the eviction process. They don't want to throw people out. They don't want to have to go find another tenant, get a security deposit, clean out the property. They would love to keep those tenants. And so this program, I think, helps make that possible.
So, Emily, let's say that you keep me in my house. Is there any sort of education that goes on with this, or any sort of supportive help? Because obviously I may not have the funds because I need a job or whatever is causing the shortage. Is there any kind of partner process that would help me not get in this position
I'd say
again?
there are two. One, the social workers that we have on our staff, we refer clients who we feel need that ongoing support. Maybe it's like we look at, okay, you're only 1 month behind on rent, but look at this budget, this math is not gonna work in the long term.
Okay.
Can we see if you're eligible for food stamps, or refinance your car at a lower interest rate to make these numbers work? So we do address stability from that standpoint. A lot of people don't really need education, they just fell on a hard time. They had a tough month.
So it's temporary, it's
For some
situational.
people. For others, they really need a case manager to get their affairs in order. And some of them are leaving benefits on the table because they just don't know how to navigate the system. The other part of that I love to sing the praises of is a program called the Good Tenant Workshop that's put on by the Northside Neighborhood House. It's once a quarter. It's a 4-hour session, and we do the tenants' rights and obligation section, but there's also budgeting, credit, a host of financial education, and at the end of it, they get a certificate, and they work with, Northside Neighborhood House works with landlords to say, hey, this person has been through the course, they understand X, Y, and Z, we're gonna go over their lease or whatever. And the people that attend that class also, I give them our number and say, hey, if you want to come in and have us go over the lease before you sign it, do that. Don't get yourself in a place where you're not set up to succeed. So both of those, I think, are great
Is there anything
resources.
that helps me with employment?
I think the social workers can help steer them towards resources. The social workers, candidly, we have 2 social workers that work with this program, and They stay busy. There is no lack of demand for their services.
I just meant another agency that could help me get employed.
You know, most of our clients are employed.
Okay, all
The
right.
problem is not that they're not working, it's that their wage doesn't match their rent, or something else, some other life event has intervened. I'll tell you, we got a big bump in calls when Amazon cut back on overtime.
Okay.
So they were counting on that time and a half. And when a major employer in town has a restriction, there's a almost immediate cost to the employees.
And another thing that I will say that I think is a huge benefit for the tenants is if we are able to leverage this federal rental assistance, the big pot of money that we talked about earlier, that pot of money is able to not only pay the arrears, pay the court cost, settle up the attorney's fees so that the tenant isn't left owing anything. That also allows us to pay a month in advance. And sometimes that's the difference, is you not only do you get out of hock, right? You're out of the red, but you get a little breathing room and a little bit of space. And anecdotally, again, that is one of the things that I think tenants really appreciate, and again, landlords appreciate it too, who wouldn't want to get paid in advance. So I think that's another point to.
Councilwoman Coonrod?
Thank you, Chair. Do you all see with eviction court, is it mainly because they're not able to pay their rent? Like, are people getting evicted for other reasons, damage to properties, illegal activity, maybe not following the terms? Is it a lot of that too?
Lots of that.
I'd say more so the unable to pay, but yes, there are still,
Unauthorized
behaviors or things that tenants do. And sometimes, landlords just want to do something else with the property. So, some landlords see the value on Zillow of their two-story house going up, and they just want to unload it. And, those are difficult cases as well.
Because that's what I'm experiencing in District 9 with a couple of apartment complexes. They're not getting evicted because they can't afford the rent. They're getting evicted because other programs are coming in, housing individuals and paying the rent for up to a year. So I'm evicting Ike, who's been a paying productive member, to help somebody who's coming here and don't even have any stake. I don't want to go in much detail about it or sound nasty about it, but that's what's happening in District 9. I don't know if it's happening in any other areas, but it's a huge complaint that's in my district that's happening. So I don't know if it's anything that you all could do to help those people because they're being displaced. Like,
Please feel free to refer them to us, because that's a place where it does get a little bit more complicated, where different state laws and protections and fair housing comes in, and sometimes they don't need money, but they do need a lawyer, because you could bet that the landlord has one.
Right, that too. And then, I've been to the courthouse and seen where it's a lot of people who are coming from the housing development that's getting evicted for $50 rent. So I'm like, Carl, by the time you behind $50 in rent, and we look at it like, oh, that's just minimal. You living in a housing development, why would you get evicted over that? But by the time the fees and all this stuff get added on, but have to have concern like with Carl, what is the housing authority doing to really prevent people from getting evicted? If your rent is at a minimum or considered low-income housing, then at what point, who steps in to say there needs to be additional services, or who's holding the housing authority accountable to making sure that the tenants who live there that's not working, relying on benefits from the state, to make sure that they're doing the programming they're supposed to do, making sure they're, abiding by their lease agreement, their terms. Like, there's things in place, like workforce related, that they're supposed to be doing that they're not really doing. So who holds them accountable? You.
I mean, they have their own docket. So there are a number of housing authority tenants that are up for eviction all the time. I think, are we one slide away from that?
Yeah, it's two slides.
Two
but
slides.
Yeah, one of the case studies that we highlight here, the one of Amber, I think.
Hold on 1 second, we got one other question from.
I just had a quick question. Who pays your salary? Where does your salary come from?
My salary comes from Legal Aid of East Tennessee.
Okay, all right, cool. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hill, then we need to move on. We still got one other.
So, you all had a slide about the 1.3 in federal funding and basically $1.5 million going to local landlords. 47% of Hamilton County renters are rent burdened. What percentage of your clients are rent burdened, are paying more than 30% of their income for housing?
I'm not sure we have accurate, precise data to that. I think that almost every one of my clients is at very least rent burdened, maybe not to that 50% of their income to housing where they're severely rent burdened, but in order to qualify for the program, you do have to be within 80% of the area median income. So there are some income restrictions, and in order to be eligible for these funds, you do have to be within those income restrictions. And then legal aid also has income criteria, so in order to be represented, you do have to.
The reason that I ask is because thinking about funding, right? We have lots of priorities to fund at any given time, and $1.5 million of funding, whether it's local dollars, federal dollars, going back into local landlords, is still $1.5 million that will not come right back out in a tangible way. Obviously, it affects our economy at large. But what I think about is if a large percentage of that 1.5 million is going to support folks that are in rent-burdened realities, and they're likely ALICE individuals, they're asset-limited, they're working people, it makes me think about our other affordable housing efforts, that if there are more units affordable within our city at given income levels, at what point do we see a trade-off of, we know we're gonna need 14,000 one-bedroom units in the next 10 years. One bedroom, 14,000 units. You know, so thinking about production of those units, and when we have opportunities to consider pilots or density bonuses or TIF opportunities, whatever they might be, to be thinking about this 1.5, that like, we can just keep writing checks to support an unsustainable process or build a different type of sustainable business model. If we can make those capital stacks work, it could be a good investment, is where I'm starting to think.
I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about that.
Okay.
If we have more time. I've been
Okay.
really crunching my brain about it.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, today, but between this and launch, I think about how, what you said about mom and pops and the way that they contribute to the economy, and the same thing happens with small businesses. 80% of people are employed by a small business, and we spend so much money recruiting large businesses that they sneeze at Amazon, and we get people getting evicted. You sneeze at the food truck, and there's a lot more community that can absorb that. And, you know, as a city, there's real value in thinking about our small businesses and not always trying to solve with a big hammer.
All right, guys,
Thanks,
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for working.
Chief, I'm gonna have to get a buzzer or something. Set a timer, dinger goes off.
These are great
They're great
discussions.
conversations.
Yeah.
They're really
you, guys.
important.
All right,
I've never done it, but it seems a little like speed dating.
Oh, you've never done it. Here we go. Not
He
me.
better not have done it.
Yeah, better not.
Just don't let
That
my
was
wife
fun.
find out.
all right, so our last presenter for the day is Mr. Paul Middlebrooks. He is the board president for the Net Resource Foundation. The project is the Cocoa Cafe. Their award amount was $250,000. And Mr. Middlebrooks, I'll let you take it from here.
My name is Paul Middlebrooks, Board President. Thank you for your support with the $250,000 that help us in being a catalyst for the Austin Park community. Give you a little bit about my background. I'm going to be very brief. Graduated from Howard High. Lived in the Austin Park community. I'm from Austin Park. Went to college at the University of Tennessee in marketing and business. And the idea of this concept came from my work at the 1982 World's Fair, where we generated concession stands and generated $1.2 million in 6 months. And I was the person that created the business plan and worked with the architects, et cetera, to open the concession stands. We had 3 concession stands, Country Kitchen, New Orleans, and funnel cake ice cream. And so I have experience trying to solve this difficult problem of creating something from nothing. So the idea came from the Net Resource Foundation, which we've been in operation for 10 years, and our primary focus started with helping youth with after-school problems, as far as education, as far as being able to communicate, and so forth and so on. So we have a strong after-school program, and we help kids understand, how to dress for success, basically how to be successful. And so we also have a community feeding program. We're strongly supported by the Community Foundation. We have community engagement activities. We've put on entertainment activities at the park in Alta Park. We've worked in the area of communicating about the different parks in the Alta Park area. So we've been strong in helping our community as far as resources go. And so the thing, in order for us to be successful, we have to diversify our income. And so we're broken into 3 buckets. One, of course, is funding from foundations. 2 is fundraising. Matter of fact, we have an event coming up this Saturday with the Firemen's Association. And then 3rd is being entrepreneurs in a public funding setting. And that idea, again, came from the 1982 World Fair. If you've been in Knoxville, if you were there in Knoxville before the World's Fair and seen it after the World's Fair, you know what I'm talking about. So that's where the idea came from, in addition to the Camp House. If you ever heard of the Camp House Coffee Shop, was owned by one of the community churches. Well, the Net Resource Foundation is the board and a lot of the resources come from the Westside Baptist Church, which is located in Alta Park. So I think that gives you an idea of our background. The corner of 38th Street and Alta Park Boulevard at one time was a busing area. There were cab companies. Back in my growth area, there was a lot of activities. There were grocery stores. There were things going on at that corner. Since if you've seen it recently, I mean, there's been some activity going on, not very pleasant, at that corner, and we felt like, this was a strong opportunity for us to be a catalyst for that area to create business growth and create entrepreneurship. So that's a little background about the concept. To talk a little bit more about the concept itself, our plan. Everybody loves coffee. I mean, I'm a Starbucks guy, but I mean, it's a good place to have meetings, and hopefully once we get set up, you guys can have your council meeting there. But it's a good place for meeting, for businesses to meet. We're gonna try to attract the school teachers, that are located in the area. There's several schools there that they have some place to go before the city workers. These are some of the targets, and there's a robust Alton Park community in addition to the St. Elmo area. There are about 3,000 traffic activity going on Alton Park Boulevard because they're trying to avoid St. Elmo. So we see a part of what we're going to do is attract those people as well, and maybe they could stop on their way home and get their dinner during rush hour. So those are some of the things we have in mind. I would like to thank the food incubation people. They've been a strong supporter of what we're trying to do and helping our strategies. And so we're going to have a food truck commissary as part of the cafe. We will have only 5 cages for dry storage and 5 cages for cooler storage, however. But they still feel like there's a need, and we have plenty of parking across the street for growing that activity. We're also going to have a chef incubator program at night. Our operating hours from 7 to 5. After 5, it turns into an event space, and so we would have a chef, rotating chef situation where we charge them for utilizing the space at night, and that allows them, because they can get in with a first-class kitchen equipment space. They can get in and create their clientele over a period of time, and we've considered or talked to some of the incubate true food truck chefs from the food incubator, and so and then of course it brings an opportunity for the community to have meetings and those kind of things. So from that standpoint, it's a win-win for everybody. So here's some of our budget requirements. We've completed the design. Our architect was LMI, and we've completed the design of the facility. We've actually submitted for proposals, RFPs that, of course, met the City of Chattanooga guidelines. The proposals came back kind of high. And so, of course, this project was first generated 3 years ago, this idea, this concept. And since that time, as you know, construction costs has gone through the roof. But we're still, we're in the process now of regrouping and trying to, we're in the process of generating income from the community foundation, as well as several other foundations that are looking at what we're trying to do. But we would not be here if it was not for the original funding that you all provided, and we still have a balance of that funding, and I can provide how the money was spent up to this point. We've spent about $150,000 out of $250,000, and about $40,000 of that went for the architect, and we have done some improvements to the facility. Next slide. So here's this business plan is well thought out. We're looking at an average of 150 people per day. We have 3 shifts, $8.50 per person. But if you look at the evening time, afternoon hours, it could be $12.50 and maybe more like $6.50 in the morning. Okay, so that's an average. the kitchen and the baker, we're gonna charge $2,500, and we plan on keeping the chef there long enough for them to build up their clientele. So we're talking about anywhere from 3 months in that category. We don't want to shift people out too soon, rotating chefs out too soon, but we'll kind of, but we may have some visiting chefs at night. So the food truck commissary, I've already told you about that. Our annual growth is 15%, and our annual cost is projected at 5%. So here's a look at our costs, and gives you an idea of I don't make a salary, okay? My time is donated. We have an executive director, Rakita Dotley. I believe you all are familiar with her.
She's pretty terrific.
And of course, we have a staff of teachers. We have 4 teachers but as far as the cafe, here's the budget that we have planned. Any questions up to this point? Okay, next slide. So as far as impact, we already see the potential impact that there is housing being built. The area needs this type of activity, and we think we're at the right place at the right time. So, next slide. Any questions, comments? I hope I gave you some idea of how important this project is for the Net Resource Foundation in continuing its community service, as well as a catalyst for the Austin Park community.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Middlebrooks, when will it be open? and-
We're hoping March 1st.
March 1st. Okay, very good. I drive by there quite a bit, so
Oh, okay.
I'm watching you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
May I ask a question? So this is kind of just old school placemaking and economic development in a blighted part of town, because to your point, East 38th Street and Alton Park Boulevard, there's not been a lot going on there for a while. And so
Yeah.
this is an opportunity to really start to reimagine the neighborhood.
Yes.
Some placemaking. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Councilwoman Cook, that's great.
Thank you. I'm excited about the project because I remember seeing how the Big H, the drug sales and all that stuff that was happening over there.
So now we have the opportunity of providing free donuts and coffee for the policemen that go to rest the area.
The way our police said on that, we're gonna need more than coffee and donuts.
I thought that was a myth.
Give them a bagel and a sandwich, something like that. But just a question around the shelf, is the 2,500 fee only just for the shelf? To
Yes.
use the space, or is just the other, okay.
Yeah, just for the shelf.
And then the,
We found it's best that we control the revenue in the morning portion of the facility.
and I love the idea of partnering with the Urban League with their program there. And so what would be the driver to get people to come pay the $600 fee to use the incubator space that you have for food trucks versus going out?
Well, we're gonna work in partnership with
Both of them, okay.
Yes, so, from my understanding, they may have some that, they may be filled up, or,
And they can refer them to
yeah, we don't see that as a problem.
Okay, good. All right, well, I'm looking forward to March.
Is that it?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Chief, thank you.
All right, yes, sir.
Good strategic planning, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Very informative.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a small break and see everybody into the council room at 3:30.